Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Michelle Gardner-Ince, aka GI. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for Demystifying Government Contracting. Please introduce yourself and your company in the chat. I had intended to do this as a LinkedIn audio, and I don't know if this is, you know, God just forcing me to be out there more, but only way I could come in is as a live event, which would make it available to you on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook um, uh, um, for a replay, for lack of better words. Please forgive me. My voice is almost gone. I'm still hanging in there. Had the delight of attending the Association of the U.S. Army convention Monday through today. I had the opportunity to do some one-on-one matchmaking, which is something I just absolutely love, with about 25 companies. And so my voice is a little raspy, so please forgive. So, if you don't know about demystifying government contracting, I'll give you a little history about it. But before I do that, let me get a couple of administrative remarks out of the way. Um, I am a government employee that works for the Department of Veteran Affairs, 9 to 5. I was in that capacity this week, but I always like to let people know all of the opinions, views expressed by guests and myself are our own views and opinions. We're not sharing any procurement sensitive information, policy, are views that have already been established by the federal government, regardless of whether it's the VA or another agency. But what we are is attempting to bring context, keyword context, to the ocean of information out there about government contracting. Because there's no shortage of information. It's just about whether or not it is you understand the information. Hey, Jesse, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for giving me those video tips. I know you're about to put some pressure on me, but do hold me accountable. I need to up my video game. Good to see you. But I do want to say that, there's no shortage of information. So, I once heard a pastor say it's about the context of the Bible verses. And if you don't understand the context, you are conned out of the true meaning of the text. And I believe that is so appropriate for the FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulation, and just the field of acquisitions and government contracting as a whole. So many people hear information, well, I'm going to do this, but if you don't understand the context that particular strategy that business embarked on was based on their client, where they were in that their business journey, what kind of business they had, what kind of revenue model or business strategy they were embarking on, and you're just taking it as this, oh, I need to go do this, let me do that, that applies to my business. So this is I call it a very unique space, because we bring experts from various walks of life. Hey, good afternoon, how are you, LinkedIn user? We must not be connected, or you must not be following me because I can't see your name. But glad that you're here. Thanks for joining. Please put your name, your company NAICS codes in the chat, and you might say, why is that important? I'll get back to that in just a little bit. It's important because here's what we come to do. We come to, connect, collaborate. You might receive a little bit of coaching if you ask, the a question in the chat, or if we were on LinkedIn Audio live. And we like to celebrate successes. So if you will put, your name, your business, NAICS codes, or it doesn't have to be NAICS codes. It can be, what is it that you do? People who go back and watch this video may be looking for you. And generally, what makes this space magical is the diversity of perspectives that we have on our sessions. We have a business advisor, business coach, former contracting officers, acquisition executives, folks with who are acquisition senior people who've been at the city and state level as well as the federal level. So, thanks for thanks for joining us. I see we got here. Hey, Coach, from Austin Business Solutions. Thank you for joining. But it's important that, hey, Dondre from Emerald Technical Solutions, a cloud provider solutions. Hopefully you're connected to AWS, Microsoft, Google, all of those. So no worries, you can only listen. You don't see a mic. No, there's no mic buttons. So the difference, let me just a little bit while we have time, we're waiting for some more folks to join. Let me just tell you, so when we do LinkedIn audio, it is like a closed session. There, you can't listen or view it later. Second of all, the best part of it is it's almost like a closed session. If you didn't hear it, it's like when you were at church. Man, the preacher preached. If you weren't there, you didn't get it. Or back when there was that concert, and if you weren't there, you missed it. It's very similar. But what's amazing about LinkedIn audio that I absolutely love is that you can raise your hand and come to the stage and ask questions and interact with me and the folks that are on the stage. The other thing that it does is it allows you to see all the people that are in the room, and you can connect with them as well. And so let me just say that I don't know what LinkedIn's doing, but it hasn't been allowing me to create audio events. I'll go in and try to create it, and then it won't show up on my profile. So I guess I'm gonna have to. My daughter said, "Mom, did you call the help desk?" And I was like, "No, I just thought it was a glitch." So this is the second week this has happened, so I'm gonna have to do that. But the thing that's great about LinkedIn Live is that literally it's live. People who follow me will see that I'm live. um, People can go back and watch the video afterwards. They can comment. They can see your comments, right? They can see your NAICS codes. You see your website. So there's no buttons to interact. I was just saying that to the LinkedIn user. You can, when you communicate or we do a LinkedIn Live, you can only do that. You can only communicate with us through the chat. So please put your information in the chat. As well as put your business NAICS code, and I just put it on the screen for you. Put your name of your business, your location, product or service. If you're trying to, you seek a particular kind of teaming partner for something, because what I like about the people that come to our sessions is there are like-minded folks in our session. And when you bring like-minded people together, generally, and I'm going to say generally very loosely, they are like in value, right? And now we've had a couple of times where it might have been a switch and a bait. People pretended like they were like-minded and like-spirited, only to find out that they weren't. And when you get that, I appreciate that feedback. You send me a DM, hey, this person said X, and they went off and they weren't even an alphabet. They're way over there at 100 when we're talking alphabet. Let me know that, because I just think it's really important in this community. This is where we build, relationships. But but let me get on with demystifying government contracting. Hey, Coach must be. Let me tell you, Coach Sean Austin, love him. Just the generosity of his time, and his knowledge. He's been in business, for a while. Did some real estate stuff, has done some corporate stuff, but now he is focused on adding value to the small business community. He's working with, HBCUs as well as, other small business resource providers to help be the bridge. That's what I say. Be the bridge on helping small businesses become bank ready and procurement ready. He does, that through various solutions, whether it's helping you get your back office together, whether it is helping you with your certifications or making sure all of your ducks are in a row to become bank ready. So when you go to the bank, guess what? You are ready for them to be excited to see you and to give you some money, right? Capital is never, a shortage. I love Ralph. Ralph just said, I'm saying everything I'm doing. That's what I'm talking about, Ralph. Don't be shy. This is a place where you can put in your NAICS codes, because when people watch this, and you'd be surprised how many large businesses are looking for you. Let me just say that a couple of things, and Coach, I'm gonna come back to your intro in a little bit, but let me say I just after 3 days of interacting with just 25 businesses one-on-one today, but quite a few more over the last 3 days. I wanted to talk about some of the things that I saw, some of the do's and don'ts, because this is almost part two. This isn't almost, it is part two of, communicating with the government and um, between the government and vendors. And I told somebody, I said, hey, when I transition to my next, there's two courses I'm gonna write, and one of them is going to be about how to build relationships with government professionals. Where is the line, where you still stay ethically correct, but where you can become known, liked, and trusted, right? That is a something that a lot of people don't realize. As I told a group today, I was talking to a couple of women-owned businesses, one of which was a veteran-owned business. I said, "Look, you, what you do is not special." I'm going to say that again. What you do is not special, right? Um, and they looked like, "What? What do you mean?" I said, there are thousands of people that do IT, cyber, professional services, coaching. I don't care what it is, unless you're Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, and you're creating something that has never been created. Uh, what you do is not special. But what is special is who you are. And the challenge that small businesses have is when they get in front of government, they immediately want to sell, not solve, right? I say there's two things you should you should sell later, um, seek to solve, and understand now. And what I mean by that is, when you are dealing with the government, you think you know them, but you don't know them. You know only, if you've not done your market research, you know only whatever you think they do. Like people, oh, well, you're at VA. I want to, I want to do business at VA. How can I get a contract? And then they'll say, oh, I want to do IT or cyber. This is another observation. This is why it's so important. Hey there, Lori, Lady Lori. This is why it's so important to understand the customer, right? because someone came to me and said, hey, I want to do IT enterprise services or computer engineering. You know what I said? I said, great. Do you know that we do that under a major acquisition task order, MATOC, or you can call it major acquisition strategy, or help me out, Lori. A major acquisition platform. I'll just call it strategy. But the reality is, if you want to do that within the federal government, especially with these major agencies, you have to find out, are they doing it under a acquisition strategy like T4 and G. HHS has their own version, multiple award contract. Thank you. Y'all, I've been talking for 3 days, so the brain is a little fried. So I appreciate the help. Y'all are awesome. But what I'm saying is, it's important to to understand the customer, and I call it AVR, articulating value right. That's something I had a little presentation, and I showed it to the folks that I met with one-on-one today, because the reason why it's important to, hey there, Ileana, good to see you. It's so important to articulate the value right. So when you're articulating, you all have heard it if you've heard me speak before. Um, you're articulating, how am I solving their problem? It's Uncle Sam, solve their problem. So you're articulating your solution, meeting their needs. How can I meet how can you be the person, the business that they need, and then address an issue, right? So solve a problem, address an issue, meet a need, Uncle Sam. And so you want to articulate your value in that term, what's unique about you, what the differentiator is. But then you want to articulate the value to the right people, and this is really where a lot of businesses are challenged, in that they don't understand who they're talking to. Just because that person works in the government doesn't mean they know everything there is to know about the federal government. I use the VA as an example. There's almost 350,000 people. It is the second largest federal agency. And people think that one person would know everything about the federal government, or even about a particular opportunity. And that's not true. It may be, um, one person, and this is what I call it. So one person may have the decision authority. Everybody runs after the contracting officer, but in some cases, the contracting officer is separated from the requirement, right? They are not one in the same. And the contracting officer is worried about the administrative and the legal aspects of the contract, because they want to protect their warrant, and they want to protect the risk of the agency or their organization. Then you also have, the small business liaisons and the OSDBUs, the Office of Small Business. We're door openers. We give direction. Go here, go there. We also educate, right? We also enable. And then you have the program manager, which owns the requirement. Sometimes, depending on whether it's bought enterprise wide, whether it's bought regionally, whether it's bought locally, um, or whether it's bought according to a contracting organization, will determine whether or not a person is the PDM, and a PDM is a person who has the procurement decision makers, person who has the authority, they have the budget, and they have the requirement all in one. And sometimes those are not all in one. Hey, Lori, I do want to welcome my sister, Lori Smith, my sister in service from the Air Force, served in a distinguished manner as a contracting senior professional. She did that in such an outstanding way. If you pass by, go down Route 1, going north or south here in DC, and you see that big Army hospital at Fort Belvoir, she was the contracting officer for that and ensured that it was done on time and on budget, as well as they maxed out their small business set asides and enabled a lot of businesses, small businesses, to gain wealth. And then she came and brought her talents over there to the VA. And let me tell you, she did another outstanding job where she was in charge of the community care project, whether you know it or not. When VA can't meet a veteran's need, they outsource care, and they do that through the community care program. And she retired a couple of years ago. It seems like yesterday. I keep trying to get her to come back, but she's having way too much fun working, teaching our future acquisition professionals, and working on her PhD and growing her business. What's up, lady?
Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for that, as always, wonderful, wonderful introduction. Happy to be here with you all this evening.
Yeah, let's. So we can get started. Hey, Coach, can you talk as well? So glad you're here as well. So Coach may be busy because Coach has gotten a couple of contracts recently. He's busy helping the Port Authority of Houston and Prairie View University expand their not only their business acumen but their resources to the small businesses in the area. So with that, we Lori, we've been talking about communicating with vendors communicating, and one of the things I was talking about is very important to understand talking to the right people. And then I want to finish up with the right time. Right, the timing is important, because if you're talking to them about a contract that they just let, and the next time opportunity for that contract is 5 years from now, it's not the right time. Right, so it's uh, articulating the value right, and that's the right people, right time, and in the right place. And the reason I use place is because place is so important, especially with some place like the VA, where the acquisition is executed may not necessarily be co-located with where the service is actually being provided. Hey, Laura, you want to jump in on that?
You are absolutely, oops, I ain't trying to get on video for y'all. But you're absolutely right, Michelle. All of those, right place, right time, and the right person, all of those are significantly important because as you communicated, I think it was also shared even last week, timing is everything. And so, like, even when you're out and you could be at a conference, and the conference may not be specifically in your area of expertise, so even communicating in that vein becomes this opportunity. Well, hey, I'm gleaning information to know who players are. May not necessarily be my area of expertise, but who knows, something may drop out in a conversation, and at that point in time there's your opening. But when, to your point about coming and talking to procurement decision makers or anyone in the process, because although one may not be the holistic procurement decision maker, there are those who have influence in the procurement decision in and of itself. And so knowing what to say, when to say, and is very important. And when a requirement is even active, when you have active solicitation on the street, now is not the time to request appointments for with people, because they're not going to engage you by an about an active requirement. They're going to funnel you specifically to the CO, because anyone else is communicating with you during that time compromises the integrity of the procurement process. So it's, I mean, it can't be understated and or overstated. Communication is always key, and that's why now, as we are they make a decision as to what it's going to look like, whether a budget is going to get approved anytime soon. It's planning time. So let's start looking and identifying who our target clients are and developing those outreach and as well as communication engagement plans. Whereas then you can go and have a plan when you go to these events as well, because that's important also.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't overstate. People. Some people say, "Oh, it's not about relationship. I just need to get my certification and you know, I just need to be able to do the job." Well, as with the executive order 13985, which really was the catalyst behind me wanting to start this, call it podcast, talk show, whatever you want, these sessions, was to help people understand we've never in history in the federal government had a greater opportunity to increase the vendor base in underserved communities. That's what President Biden's executive order 13985, and as small businesses, it's important for you to understand the rules, right? Understand the laws that are being uh you know um um driven, that are driving what the agencies are doing. But at the same token, while the door is being open and barriers are being lowered, we still have to be not only ready, but we also have to realize that this thing is based off of relationships, no like and trust. And you might say, why are relationships so important? That's because in general, federal agencies and government people are risk averse. Like and they're not risk averse because they're not giving you the Heisman, so to speak, because they don't like you, or they don't think you're capable. I just don't know you like that. Like, I've not experienced and seen your past performance. So in other words, I need to see what you've done, and that's why past performance is so important. And the more I know you, the more I've seen you, the more I understand who you are as a business owner and what you've done and the kind of skills you bring and the people you bring, then the more I can say, let me see if we got something, right? Or let me let you know this opportunity is coming up. Oh, respond to this source of sought. Those are the kind of things that happen. And I know Lori has said it and JD has said it. If you see the acquisition in Sam's, is it too late, Lori?
Well, I won't necessarily say it's too late, but what I will say is that you've lost ground. I will put it that way.
That's a good
And my
word. That's a
hope
good
is
word.
that even if you didn't have an opportunity to engage a specific office in person or in any other kind of way, if you make a decision to respond to anything you see out on the streets, public facing, you've still done your due diligence and you still have the capability and the wherewithal to succeed. The idea should be I am not only submitting proposals for the sake of submitting one, and I want to win, but no, I'm also ready to perform. And so you have got to be able to articulate that, and that's how you rise above. Again, I've done source selections. There are companies that no one around the table knew. There's people we've interacted with in the hallways at various conferences. And, I can love you in public, but when you come across the table in the four corners of a document, you may not be as cute. And so you have to be mindful of that. So relationships are important. You're being able to tell your story, not somebody else telling a story about somebody that's not you. All of those
Mhm.
things play into that. But you really won't say that, it's too late, but you've lost ground because someone has been out there cultivating. And to Michelle's earlier point, man, if we can learn to master our responses to RFPs,
Mhm.
whereas then we compel the government to get outside of their comfort zone and quit going to these go-to companies. Because I'm gonna tell you something, all these big boys they continue to go to, I'm not telling you something I heard, I'm telling you what I know. Their fill rates are horrible. If it was a small business doing some of the fill rates, they would have been terminated. They
Explain that
provided
fill
you
rates.
well, when
Explain.
especially especially in anything where you have to provide a butt in the seat. A lot of your large businesses that are continuing to get these contracts, they're not able to fill those seats and fill those positions. But there's a familiarity, there's name recognition, name branding. It sounds great for everybody to do something, and that's why you will also see a lot of government agencies going through this process. Whereas, and they're communicating to you to call, get a specific ID number that'll be unique to you because they want you to even submit a proposal with no naming, no branding on it, so that we can make sure that we are getting the right folks that can actually solve the solution, opposed to somebody getting being easy because they recognize the name of a company. So we just come prepared. In every aspect, you just have to be prepared. Did we lose sound?
I'm just talking. You know I'm running my mouth over here, girl. Just mute it. Just going in, girl. Going in. Just saying amen, uh-huh, all that. Sorry about that, y'all. So Lori, I wanted to ask you, as a former contracting officer, and how many years do you have in contracting now?
Oh my. In contracting it was close to 30, in contracting over 25. It's over
Yeah.
25.
Wow, wow, wow. So one of the misconceptions is that I'm not going to respond because the agency's already determined who they want to give it to, right? And they've determined, the acquisition strategy or approach. How can small businesses influence the acquisition strategy through relationship? What are some tips, girl?
Well, when we talk about, from if it's a follow-on requirement, you have to look to see how was it competed originally. So if it was an original set aside, what you don't want them to do is move it outside of a small business arena at any way, in any capacity. So typically, if it's a follow-on where someone will have the mindset, well, you're going to give it to the incumbent, or no need for me to do that kind of work. The government is compelled and required to do, we're giving fair opportunity for you to do a follow on, so we're going to keep it in that size standard because the market has established, hey, there are some small businesses to do it. So you're safe in that vein to a degree, but don't make the assumption that the incumbent is great. So take advantage of any FOIA opportunities where you can go in and request information, see what somebody is going to release to you. And as you're getting to know folks, see, this when it's time for you to get to know that core, get to know the folks who's actually, where their work is actually being performed. You're on the golf course, you're hanging out, happy hour, make it work, make it, and ask those kind of questions, because that's when people get chatty and they're going to let you know how great or how somebody is or isn't doing. And so again, there's an opportunity to just elicit some information. That's tantamount to good gossip. However, a way that small businesses can influence this strategy for procurements is making sure that you're responding properly to sources sought, requests for information, and any of those type. When you see an RFI or they're doing a sources sought, make sure you respond, and respond in kind the way that they're asking you to, because what they're doing, that's market research. So the
Mm.
government is out here trying to assess and assert whether or not there's a market that can provide us this, and at a way where the government will receive, get that solution solved, and it's going to be at a fair and reasonable rate. So when we don't respond as small businesses, and or we respond, see attached capabilities, nobody asked you to send no attachment. They got questions and they want you to literally insert that information in there. Respond, because that's when you are able to compel the strategy. And if you meet a social economic category, whereas in they haven't been doing the greatest at, when you send that information in there, say, hey, as in accordance with the date and what was requested per your sources saw the RFI, please find the attached for your review. Furthermore, as a point of clarity in that your agency, call them out. Please be mindful. Hey, I'm gonna put your qualify yourself even in the cover of your email, although it's gonna be embedded in the attachment. So you want to call attention to it. So it becomes you shaping your communication with them so that you can disrupt the strategy in any way that you potentially can. And again, there are some agencies, if you know agencies are short, if you know they're busy, how can I compel someone to give me a direct award? Do I qualify for an opportunity for a direct award? Hey, what's the dollar value of this going to be? Oh, well, you can give me a direct award for that. So those are ways that you can um, disrupt the procurement strategy.
Wow. Well, I was looking, somebody was saying that the chat is acting up. I don't know why the chat is acting up, but the devil is a lie. That's all I'm going to say. Come on now, LinkedIn guys. Bless us now. Y'all let these people talk in this chat. Um, Somebody said attend vendor fairs as well. Oftentimes, government will share future requirements. I want to just say about this, I think so true, but so many people come to these vendor outreach and engagements asking what they can Google or asking what they should be doing in their market research. So while it's as important for government to do market research, it's even more important to do for small businesses to do research. Can you put in the chat, why do you think that is so? And thank you, Lisa, for joining and for letting me know that the chat is acting up. So why do you think it's so important for small businesses to do market research? Okay, Coach, it's paramount, but why? Can somebody, Coach, don't give them the answers now. Why do
Well,
you think it's important? Wait, I
it's
want to see
important
what we get in
because
the chat. Hold on, I want to
oh,
see
it's
if
in the chat. Okay.
I'm trying to see if we getting any responses in the chat first. Can you tell me why is it important for small businesses to do some market research? And what are some market research um, resources? Right. Um, so first of all, um, anybody want to jump in? Go
Well,
ahead,
I
Lori. Go ahead,
I
Lori.
was going to
I was
jump
trying
in
to
and
get.
just say that it's important that small businesses do market research because, again, you can do a comparative analysis on your own, identify who's likely to submit a proposal in response to something, and then establish, okay, what is their claim to fame? How often have they gotten this award previously? That's information you need to be doing. So one, you do market research not only on the government as to determine who have a problem that I might can solve. You want to know who's in the game with you. And sometimes market research will either establish that, hey, you're set up and you're postured to pursue it as a prime, and or it may facilitate your being able to identify people that can partner with you so that you can present a more comprehensive solution um, as a group or as a team, and identifying team and partners. So the market on either side, it's about establishing your competitive advantage, but more importantly, it sets you up to be able to position yourself so that you can provide a more informed response as to even whether you bid or no bid. It's a part of your bid no bid strategy. So it's a lot that market research answers for you as a business. And so that's why it's paramount, as the coach indicated, that you conduct it so that you can know which direction you want to exhaust your resources against.
I mean, spot on. Yeah, I mean, this is what I love about these amazing human beings. They are giving you gold. There's a lot you can read, but bringing the context of the importance of the information is what they do. Hey, Coach, I see you back with us. You want to jump in?
Yeah. Thanks. Sorry about that little delay there. I had to
No
take care
worries.
of something. Yeah. Hey, Dr. Lori. Good to see both of you, Michelle and Dr. Lori here. The more I'm around especially these last, I don't know, 90 days have been interesting. We had a chance to do a supply diversity training for Shell, which was still, I'm still like, did that happen? But what got us there was the relationships that got us into another room where an executive for Shell heard me speaking about supply diversity and building capacity. And you made a comment earlier, Michelle, about how people will even question why relationships are important. And just having that mindset is so counterproductive to you even existing on a government stage, period. I mean, it's so, and I don't want to use the word asinine, but it's so against the threshold of just how this thing even works. Business at its core, I think, is procurement at its core. How do
Mhm.
you understand this company's mission and vision to procure what it is that you're offering? Right, just out the gate, what you're offering. And for someone to say, well, I want to do cyber, I want to do something, just something that they're kind of pulling from the sky. And if that agency were to reach in and say, okay, show me how you do what you do. Give me an average day of that cybersecurity effort that you're pursuing with whomever. And you're going to hear crickets, and then you're going to be embarrassed because you can't articulate your competitive advantage or your value proposition day to day. What does that business plan look like? What are your SWOTs look like? Let's kind of dive into that because we may want to team you with company X, Y, or Z. And again, crickets are going to come because we haven't built up what it is we do as a business to even articulate that to the mission of Air Force or Booz Allen, whomever we're dealing with, right? Because they all need us. So at the end of the day, what I would strongly advise, definitely y'all need to be booking some one-on-ones with Dr. Lori, which I need to do that myself. But what we need to understand is that one, these are people. And if you have not bare minimum gone to GSA and let its resources help you do market research, but tap into that company's mission and vision statements, what it is that they're trying to accomplish, plug it into ChatGPT and see how it affects what you do, and make sure that you've tapped into the United Nations 17th sustainability goals and see which one of those apply to you. You'd be surprised how many companies go to your website to see what your mission and vision statements are, etc., and how y'all merge, because this is going to be a marriage of some sort. So understanding that just out the gate before you breathe on an RFI and RFQ, before you try to respond to anything, how can I merge my efforts with this particular agency, and do we culturally fit? Do we
Correct.
have a cultural fit before I even try to have them write me a check for anything? And I'll end with this: I would never pursue a proposal or a bid before I understand the territory that I'm about to walk into.
Hey, hey,
Before I do
hey.
any of that, where am I going? We did meetings this year again, and I do it every year. Port Houston, City of Houston, we did a couple of federal situations, talk with Air Force, speaking with some folks with Booz Allen. That name's coming up a lot. Why the Shell thing worked out. But there's a lot of no's and that ain't gonna work for me type of thing from my side and their side, because they weren't attracted to what we did. And I was like, okay, now I know who I can rock with and who I can't. So if we approach it from that angle, that's going to be so powerful for all of us.
I'm laughing because those of you who have heard me speak, one of the reasons why I love engaging with women veterans is because I can talk woman talk, right? And you said, who basically, you said, hey, we dated, we met, uh, we went to the party, the event, and no, you're not my type, and I'm not your type. It doesn't mean that either of you are bad. It just means you're not their right, fit to partner on their effort, and they're not yours. And I think, that's important to realize is that everybody is not your customer. And no doesn't mean no to you. It just means they don't have a need for what you are selling right now. And I think that's important. I think a lot of, companies come into GovCon thinking, I've got all these certifications, which I got, the lipstick, the eyeliner, I got my hard on, and all of that's great. But what's underneath is really what they're interested in. And anybody who comes to you saying, oh, your hair looks pretty, I like your makeup, let's do business, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're your right teaming partner, because you want to make sure they can expand your capacity and your capability, and it's an effort for both of you to win. And the reason I say both of you to win is because when both partners win, whether it's I'm the prime one time, you're the sub, and then it flips, what happens is it builds trust between the team when it doesn't hurt me to help you. I'm big on that. It should not hurt for you to team with somebody. It should be a good thing for everybody. And some people's strategy is, oh, I'm going to take a loss so that I can get in. Sometimes that works, sometimes it can backfire. So, one of the things that I want to say that Lisa, who's in the background, Lisa Anderson, if you're not following her, you need to you need to know her. She's a CPA. Even if you just go out on LinkedIn and connect with her, follow her. She said, "Can you also touch on why market research is equally important or more important if you are a recompeting incumbent?" Lori or Coach, you want to take it?
Well, I'll shoot it from a CEO perspective. Even if you're incumbent, market research, to her point, is as equally important because, again, you can't be complacent. And that is
Mm-hmm.
why there is a percentage of incumbents that don't win the follow-on award. I mean, even as the CEO for the Fort Belvoir Community Hospital, I mean, man, I took over and I walked into a landmine that had been brewing for over 3 years, exhausted at every court, the highest of courts. Then they tried to go in the local courts, and they was like, the big guys don't told you no, and because the incumbent lost. And when you think about it, had they done their due diligence, they potentially could have came back in. But don't become too complacent. Don't think that the government do know, like, and love you and trust you enough that they won't make an alternative decision. Because there may be some aspects of what you're doing as a company that really don't sit well with everyone. And you have to be mindful that in former source elections specifically, those evaluators, those experts, some may know you, most may not. But if we are redacting names and removing any identification, they are going for the best solution, the best that is best for, on the best behalf of the government, in the best interest of the government, and with a fair and reasonable price. And so we have to be mindful of that. So incumbents don't becoming complacent, because you can lose to someone that's more innovative, someone that's been out just posturing and preparing and have done their due diligence to acquire the contract, that you are sitting in. And there are even quite a few incumbents you got lucky winning and you struggled to perform. So if you haven't done your due diligence to overcome that, the government really, they'll give you a set for a past performance, but yeah, they ready for a new boyfriend or a new girlfriend. They're ready to move on. So you have to be mindful of that. And before I stop, if I could, to reiterate something the coach said earlier about talking about your capabilities, pitching your business plan, and all those things. If it's your story and if it's you, you need to be prepared to talk about it without a PowerPoint or anything in front of you,
Mhm.
because sometimes you may have to do what he said, walk down the hallway and telling someone what it is that the solution you have for their problem, in order for them to know. They could be on their way to the restroom, on their way to the next meeting, and if you can't tell your story without the presentation all fancy in front of you, they'll say thank you for your time. No, that we don't need that. But if I hear anything, I'll let you know. That's the phrasing they're gonna give you.
Yeah.
So just wanted to point that on there.
And the other thing I would say is bring the right people with you, right? Do you know what makes me mad is when I tell people I'm for women. I'm not against anybody else. I'm just for women. So if a woman says they want to meet with me and they send their BD people, I go, Really? Because you're the woman owned business. You're the woman veteran owned business. You should be able to communicate your value, where you're going, what you're trying to do as the owner. And I'm very keen on that because one of the key factors, and for those of you who don't know, I used to be the director of the veteran certification program and set up the very first legitimate risk program for that certification. Now that individual who used to work for me is now over there at SBA, and he testifies for the Department of Justice when companies attempt to be fraudulent. And so that is why I'm very, when people say pass through, I freak out and go, that is a cuss word to me. Okay, because the whole intention is for businesses to be owned and controlled. Keyword is controlled. Most people focus on the owned and controlled by the woman, the veteran, or the minority. It is about protecting an advantage that is earned or given. And I think it's fraudulent to delegate that to someone else, and people go, oh, a lot of people are doing it. Yeah, everybody won't get caught, but somebody will. I'm just saying. So, I think it's really important that when you are the owner, for you to be able to speak and communicate. Now, if you need to bring your BD person with you, bring your VP with you. No shame to game, but they should not be the one um, um, selling or advocating for your business when it comes to something technical or very specialized. Yep, you want them to join in, but they are not the lead. You are, and y'all can tell that's a little pet peeve of mine. So I just had to get that out.
Yeah, I got to tap in. I'm so
Go
passionate
ahead.
about this
Go
one
ahead.
thing.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I won't take long. I swear, but I'm so passionate about this. Today is my 18th year anniversary of being in business for myself. Right, I signed my first LLC paperwork and got my first hub certification 18 years ago. And
Whoop whoop.
yeah, it's a whole thing. And it's been a wild ride. Market research is like there's relationships and there's market research. They're hand in hand. And to those small business owners, I'm glad this is on this format, Michelle, so people can come back and really hear it. Because what you, Lori, have said has been so paramount. But y'all listen, please go Google. I don't say Google much, but go Google market feasibility study. Go Google that. And don't get thrown when you see it costs $100,000, because some companies pay $100,000 for a market feasibility study. But Google and hit the images, and you'll see all the different graphs and the pictures and the 5 to 10 to 15 points that make up a feasibility study. If more small businesses did that out the gate, and just how feasible is this that I'm about to do? I want to do, is this feasible? And then run it through it. You almost do like a 5 why analysis, like a root cause analysis. And at the end of that feasibility study, the market research that you have to do in that study will tell you everything you need to know. Now take it a step further and imagine going for a job interview, going through Indeed and all those kind of things, but on this contracting business side of things, and you're trying to date this particular agency, company, etc. And you walk in with, "Oh, your hair is so pretty," and she's like, "So okay, tell me, what do you know about me? Have you watched me online? Have you learned about me? Do you know anything about me more than just superficial stuff? Have you taken the conversation deeper? You really don't care about me, do you? You just want my money. Oh, okay. I'm gonna talk to you and I'm gonna walk you out the door, because that's what's happening in business and especially in government, and even in private. You're not
Yep.
studying and learning what your potential check writer is about, but you're also not learning. And I'm so glad Miss Lisa brought this up. When it comes to market research, yeah, some of y'all get a little too comfortable, and this is the point I wanted to say, Michelle. Some of y'all get too comfortable thinking, "Oh, I'm in here now." See, you're running
Mm-hmm.
against somebody like me that's been in this for 18 years, who every year I'm like, okay, who's the one I'm about to take off that throne real quick? What are y'all? And I really act like this even in my business meetings with my staff. Who is it that's sitting on a little pedestal right now that I can tell by the agency's response or the company's response, you're not acting right. I'm about to take your spot, and I'm coming for your spot. And I'm seeing, what do you do well? What do you not do well that we do really, really good? Because I want that spot. And I know when I get it, I'm going to conquer it and hold it, because I'm never incumbent. Once I'm there, I'm not going nowhere, because we're there for the long haul. I had a meeting with a company, and I'll land here, that I can't say the name yet, Michelle, but I'm gonna tell you offline, Michelle. But
Okay.
this company is top 3 globally in where they sit. I had a chance to be on a Zoom with them, and they're looking to bring our brand on. And one of the questions that the gentleman asked me was, "Where do you see this going?" And God told me, "Say it. Don't question it. Just say it." And I'm like, "Okay, I said it." I said, "I don't want this to be transactional by any means. This needs to be a 5, 10, 15-year thing." I said, because Johnson Space Center, all the states, the cities, everyone's got a 5, 10, 15-year plan. Capital improvement projects alone have 5, 10, 15-year plans. So we need to have that too. Because and I almost said it, if this CEO's mission is this and y'all's culture is this, we fit. But what you're looking for, you're wasting time as a company this size, because what you're looking for, we already do. And that's why I'm even here. So we insert what we do into this juggernaut, we can accomplish the mission at hand. How did I know to say that? Because his eyes, he sat up in his chair. I watched body language. He sat up in his chair and he said, "You know what? I'm glad you said that." Because we have a culture of, and I already knew, because I studied him long enough. And he even asked me, "Why hadn't you come to us sooner?" I said, "Because I don't think we both were ready for this." I sure wasn't ready, because I had to make sure I was comfortable with sitting at this chair and answering whatever you asked me without a note, without Googling it, without pulling it up, because it's in my DNA now for my company, even our brand. And y'all have to be able to do that in your market research to understand your competition so well, but also that agency so well, that when you get that chance, that dance will happen, and like the door opens and it closes. And when you're inside that agency, you'll be privy to certain things that at a moment's notice, you've got to be able to answer or talk to that project manager and say, "You know what? Let's do a lunch, let's learn." Because I know you can't take food, but let's do a lunch, let's learn. Let's talk. Because I think I've got a solution to that problem y'all are talking about. They're like, "Really?" And they'll sit down and listen to you. And you can create your own RFP in those meetings. But if you don't do that homework, you're outside looking in, trying to figure it out, leaning on your socioeconomic status instead of leaning on your capabilities. I'll
You
land there, but
well,
that's what you should be doing.
so good. I'll sum it up in 3 words. He sat up in his chair and looked at you. You know what he said? "You complete me."
That's what it felt like.
Sorry about that. I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist.
That's what it
But
felt like.
that's
It's
the
such a
goal.
bro way. It was like,
Oh my
my
goodness.
dude. Oh,
Yeah, but that's the goal,
That was
right?
good.
That's the goal. Hey,
it
I
is. It
see
was fun to
David has
go.
joined us too. Hey, David Wilson, Air Force retired colonel, acquisition professional, has been, acquisition professional at the city, state, and the federal level. So glad to see you, buddy. I've known him for a long time, 20 years at least. Thank you for joining us. Jump in and give us some city state perspective, will you?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, wonderful,
Love
wonderful.
the photo too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, from a city-state perspective, when you're looking at local acquisitions, it's not as easy as with the federal government. For example, we know the vast majority of the requirements are posted on sam.gov. What's critically important is making sure that you develop those relationships with those particular offices that you're interested in. Understand what sites, first and foremost, they post their solicitations to, and then also attending their fairs, establishing meetings with the appropriate personnel within those organizations, build those relationships with those particular departments because they have the requirements. And so it's going to be very similar to the federal government. It's just understanding the differences in the structure of the state or the structure of the city or local government offices and who those personnel are to start beginning those relationships. Oftentimes, they'll have an outreach office where they send personnel specifically out to different vendor fairs from the different agencies or to the Chamber of Business Commerce may have an event. They'll send representatives from their offices to those locations. Make sure that you engage with them, you meet with them, get to know them, and start having those conversations with them and keep in touch with them, because they'll be able to give you that insight into when something is coming or if something is coming, or who to speak to within the different departments that could support you in your efforts to establish a contract with that entity. Over.
So let me just, I'm gonna put you on the spot here, Dave. Um, you were chief procurement officer for the city of Atlanta. How did somebody get a meeting with you? Come on, give us the inside scoop. Don't hold back.
Well, so I'll say specifically, when I was at the city of Atlanta, one of the things I did was establish an outreach department. I had particular personnel that would attend the different events, that would establish those relationships with the different vendors. And if you wanted to meet with me specifically, you would just have to come to the office. I had an executive assistant, and also had a separate assistant that would sit at the front of our entryway. We had a greeting office there, and she had access to my calendar to schedule meetings with me specifically if you wanted to meet with me as a vendor. And so I was open to doing those things. And oftentimes I'll tell you that it was great speaking with those individuals, great speaking with those companies. But in that role, if something came up a month later, I may not even remember that you performed or worked in that particular area. And so what I would always do is I would speak with you. I would have that conversation with you, because it's important to have that local engagement with our community. But I would also refer you right to our outreach personnel. I'd bring them into the meeting, make sure that we got your information, make sure that we got you into our training class, so that way you were able to interact with our particular system, to bid on our contracts. You were able to enter your information into our database, so that way you would come up in our market research efforts, etc. But I would make sure that I put you in touch with the right personnel, so that way you can actively engage with the city from a procurement perspective.
Just kind of, I know Atlanta might not be like all other cities, but just, and I know we're a little over here, but I'm trying to get some jewels out of Dave, because I know they're in there. He got a treasure chest. Tell me, when you're thinking about, they're in the system, right? They've met with you. Are the requirements the people who actually are going to benefit from their product or service? Where do they fall in the process?
Could you elaborate a little bit more? What do you mean
So
by?
they've been to your outreach, right? They've been to some of your training. They've registered in your system. Um, but let's say it was with the public works, right, for the city, right?
Mhm.
They talk with you. Where does the public works uh, manager or program person fall in the process
Okay.
at the city level? Mhm.
All right. So when Public Works would have a requirement, for example, they would work with the procurement department. They would develop the requirement in conjunction with my department to overview it. And by having your name and information in the system, by being recognized or known as a agency that we can do business with, when we went to do, when we would go out to do market research, we would go into our system first and see who do we know, who do we have. Obviously, we know who the incumbent is. We will look at the current acquisition to see who competed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago when the contract was awarded.
Mhm.
We will go into our database as well to see what businesses are there that line up, that will have the appropriate NIGP code, that would line up for that particular acquisition. We had a contracts compliance or office as well that was separate from procurement at the time, that also kept our small business database. And so we would interact with that office to obtain that information from there as well. So that way we broaden our perspective on who could potentially compete for this acquisition. And then I would have my personnel make sure we sent out generic note to everyone. One of the things we established is on the federal side, we often do a sources sought or synopsis prior to. It's part of our contractual requirements according to the FAR. I established that in the city of Atlanta as well, that we would do that 2 weeks prior to the release of the solicitation, send out that notice to the vendors within the system that we were aware of, as well as post it to our public site. So that way you would know before the solicitation came out that it was coming, which would allow you to, if you're not registered in our system and you didn't get the personal notice, if you paid attention to the website, you would see it there and could reach out to our outreach office to register with our system. You can start looking at through a free, not a, we don't do a FOIA on the federal side. Shoot, the term is escaping me right now, but it's similar to a FOIA. You could do a request of the city to determine, to get a copy of the contract, to determine who has it currently. Start looking at partnering opportunities. There's a number of ways that we would go about doing it, but
was there a way, all good stuff, David, is there a way? I've been recommending, reason I'm asking you is because one of the things that I believe is an untapped area was what a colleague of mine, Jules Tujon, talks about. He says, drill in your own backyard. You know, so many people are going after, I want to go to this big federal agency. I'm trying to get in. I'm trying to find out. Well, when you go, just if we use Atlanta for example, you know, you've got the airports there, you've got the transit system there, you've got the school district there, you've got universities there, you've got all these kinds of opportunities for these large you know, organizations to provide services that you're already proven in the federal government. And so you pay taxes there, so it's easier for you to walk in, right, and to get access. So but I'm trying to figure out, like I was talking to a guy about this, about cyber, and I said, everybody needs cyber, right? Everybody's chasing after the federal government, but school districts, all those people I mentioned already need cyber. But how would he or she influence the requirement, maybe to a city or to a school district that's in its infancy stage seeking to, you know, to do, who needs cyber but doesn't really know what they need? How would that person influence that requirement?
well, that's where that relationship comes into play. You
Mhm,
have
mhm.
to you have to go to that location and find out which department that will fall under, and introduce yourself to them. Um, at the um, at the local level, they're much more open to conversations than on the federal side.
Yes.
The laws, rules, and regulations are completely different. You have a city code for Atlanta, for example. You have a city code. For the state of Georgia, Georgia has a procurement code. You could sit down and read both of them in a day, a couple of times. But on the federal side, you're not reading the FAR in a day. Then there's the DFAR
Hmm.
side. Then there's the AFARs or DAFARs now, if you're on
Yeah,
the Air
there's
Force
the
side.
bar for VA.
Right.
Absolutely.
Then you have their local policies and procedures, the PGIs, et cetera, TTPs. So there's a tremendous amount of regulatory guidance when it comes to the federal government. Once you get outside of the federal government, you hit state and local, you're talking about, um, you know, you can literally read the city code in 3, 4 times in one day. So it's not a tremendous amount of information. So you can become very smart on the process quickly. And so I would, those conversations, those discussions, those meetings, that's imperative to go build those relationships, because your competitors they're down there talking to them. If you're going to
Absolutely.
public works, they're going into City Hall and they're establishing meetings to have discussions about upcoming requirements and how they can support and help.
Absolutely. And you know, finding out what do they need based on, you know, if the mayor or the governor or who else exactly, coach? That's market research. That's the market research that small businesses have to do, is to say, hey, do you know that now if you want to do business with the government, this is required, cyber is required. And if you're trying to receive funds and connect to federal systems for funding or for technology, it's important that your organization be safe, because it may be a weak point that would cause some kind of vulnerability. So I believe at the I'm beginning to preach more and more about the public private partnerships, and that I believe industry has an even more greater opportunity now to influence requirements, because oftentimes the government doesn't know what they want nor what they need. And I think that's even more of an opportunity at the local and state, the city, state level. That's the
Look,
reason I was asking those questions. So I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in, but go
well,
ahead. We're kind of wrap
add
it up in a little bit.
I'll add one more thing just to round it off.
Sure.
Um, if you're living in the city, and you get to know your local representative for your district, because they're going to be influencing the city departments to support their needs and requirements. If you provide, for example, if you sell commodities like, matter of fact, I'll give you a better example. During COVID, a lot of your local bars, your breweries, they started producing hand sanitizer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, even though they couldn't have people inside the facility to drink and have a good time, they could utilize their equipment to produce hand sanitizer, and they kept their doors open that way. And they went through their local representative, who then came to the procurement department, who was me at the time, and we had the conversation because, one, as a resident with your business located within the city, there's a preference on the source selection side, and so you've already got a leg up by being local. And then by going through your representative, you have influence on the deciding factors on who that award goes to. So make sure you're engaging with your local representatives in your community where your business is located as well.
Awesome. I mean, I just really appreciate your perspective. I think, you know, um, you're just filling a gap that we have here, and I think it's much needed. We have tremendous expertise here in this space. I'm so honored, but that was a unique perspective we didn't have. So I'm so honored you could join us, Coach Lori. Any question, comment? Jump on in.
Yeah, I want Laura to go last. I know she's gonna have stuff to put a nail in this coffin, with the energy she's had today. So, I would say, I hope people can take this as a tutorial. Um, take the notes from it, and really approach all of this with such a level of humility and servitude. Walking down those halls, who are you serving? How are you serving? And really open your hands up to what can I do to help you, and be genuine about that approach, and make that part of your company's culture, so that when those advices hit your ear, you can make note and make action, so that they see you in the consistency of you showing up. Like the gentleman just spoke of, he forgets that you're there. Don't let him forget that you're there, because he's busy. Trust me, I've seen procurement directors left and right. They do get busy and don't get upset that they're busy. But make sure you stay so top of mind that they don't want to forget you. And if they do, it's like, man, I'm so sorry. I'm going to get back to you. I'm going to have Lori or Sarah get back with you. Make that the relationship to where they want to turn you on to other people and other things. Because you got to remember, they all know each other and they talk and they're buddies. They leave one agency for another, one company for another, but they all buddy up. And that's your best ambassador, a friend in government, a friend in these agencies and companies. So be that person that serves, and they'll end up serving you. And at the end of the day, for me, that's the best way to get this thing through. So appreciate you, Michelle. Thanks for everybody for being here tonight.
No, awesome. Lori, awesome, awesome. Can
Well,
y'all
well,
give us some feedback in the chat, please?
yeah,
Go ahead.
well, Coach and Dave, they done laid it down. I mean, I can come behind them two kings and just, hey, more power to you. I don't know what Coach Austin up here talking about, but I mean, they're absolutely correct. And to Coach's point, when we talk about operating in the space of integrity, you have an honor, and that being who you are, and that being the thing that's repeated about you, regardless of where somebody show up. And earlier, Michelle talked about my efforts at Fort Belvoir Community Hospital and working and then giving small businesses opportunities. We would have small businesses come in and pitch us. I'm a hospital, and everything that they talked about didn't serve the hospital, but I didn't send them away. Oh, well, you're not selling what I need, so bye. No, I'm gonna listen to you because now I'm a source for you. Then I'm gonna give you homework and then direct you accordingly. Because of how to the point, no nonsense, candid, and straightforward I was, and making sure facilitating their success, because their success is my success as a government entity. So you win, we win as a government. Our mission get met, regardless of whether Small Business Administration was at a conference that had small businesses in there. If they talked about CEOs and bad relationships, my name came up as, hey, well, we got a good one at Virginia. And because of that, when I left that hospital, Small Business Administration sent representatives to my going away. They actually gave me a going away memento token. And the lady, she was telling me, she said, hey, we typically don't do this for everyone. They said, but you have a great relationships with small businesses operating out of the DMV, but small businesses was from all over the US. So it's operating in integrity, coming in there, being who you say you are, to them. That's where we need you to show up. Let your people show up being you, because your people are a representation of you. That's why I also say your branding don't stop on your website or your cute little flyer you send me. Your brand is the butt you put in the seat. I need you to make sure you take care of that brand.
Hello, and I
Take care
want
of
to
that
jump in on
brand.
that.
Yeah,
I
you
want
take care of that brand, they're gonna take care of you.
absolutely. I want to jump in on that, and that is one of the things I was talking with a company about today. They said, "Oh, we're small. We don't have all this time." And I said, "How many FTEs do you have?" I said, "I don't care if you got two FTEs. If they're at the client site and you don't have the money to hire a business development staff, they are an extension of your business development efforts. They are sitting there. They're hearing the client talk about their challenges. And guess what? Incentivize your employees to identify opportunities. Every employee in a small business needs to be an opportunity identifier. In order for them to understand and identify an opportunity for you, they've got to understand not only what you do, but the unique value proposition, and how do they don't even have to talk to the client about it. They just have to listen and then say, hey, they're struggling with this, or they're saying that they wish this was better. That is a note. And then, like I told them, hey, have a meeting with the client and say, hey, I understand you might need this. We do that. And if that ends up into an opportunity, incentivize the employee. Because when you do that, then they will be on the lookout for opportunities, and they can help you grow right where you're already planted. So yeah, you win, we win. I know that's right, Lori.
Mich-
Go ahead, jump in.
Michelle's going to add to that. If you, excuse me, Gi, if you don't mind if I add to
Please,
that.
please.
I was going to say also, it doesn't matter if you got two people, you have a network. So if I have two people and they need four, I know I can call Jamie Roan, who has his
Mm-hmm.
own business. I know I can call Pierre Redmond. I
Mm-hmm.
know there are other people that I know that I can contact to work those things. You can post an advertisement on LinkedIn to pull in professionals within that career field, to hire folks, to bring them in. The key is not limiting yourself in thought. Uh,
Yes.
figure it, figure it out. Those of us that wore uniforms, the answer was always figure it out.
Yes, I can do that. And then, like you said, leveraging the network. No, you didn't bring up Pierre Redmond, who I've known. We were at tech school together, so I know him well. I know he's a hustler. I know he's out there doing some great things. But yeah, you can call your network, and then bring them in and say, hey, I not only need butts and seats, but I need this capability. I know you're strong in it. Let's do this together. Let's everybody win, because 100% of nothing is nothing, but 49% is something, and especially if it leads to future wins, right? So um, uh, any other last thoughts, Coach?
Gosh, it's hard to get a last thought on this whole thing. Be comfortable. One thing that I've noticed market research does, and this is on just the human side of being in business. The more market research and data research and conversations you have with people in any space increases your confidence level, decreases the imposter syndrome, and allows you to understand the person and the people you're talking to. Period. And the best way, because people get stuck right about this point, the best way to do that is ask pertinent questions.
Mm-hmm.
Not the mundane ones, but ask questions that allow them to speak to you. And you'll learn more by asking than by talking. And then you'll know how to say what you need to say, because they'll give you as much as you need. But asking questions often lets them know that you are curious, you are concerned, and that you're trying to help their business, their agency, the jurisdictions, whomever you're speaking to. Get out there and get used to doing that. And if you can be a professional question asker, inquiry
Mm-hmm.
person, that'll build up so much right there. Those conversations, you can't Google those. You can't, the FAR doesn't even have those at all. But you've got a friend in that acquisition space, in that procurement space. And those are, to this day, 18 years later, has been my cornerstone for our success and still is going forward. So that's what I would close with.
Well said. Again, this is about, as I started out talking about AVR, articulate the value right, right, and articulating the value right is about right people, and when you meet the right people, engaging them in the right manner, you know, doing the research you need to know so you can get to those three. Thank you. Those three words, you complete me. When a relationship is right, and you have done your research on the client, when they see your proposal, they're like, "Oh my God, they get me. They understand us. They understand our need. They are the solution. They are the one who can meet our needs or address our issues." That's what it's really about, communicating with the and understanding where the line is, right? Like Lori said, when a solicitation is on the street, nobody's going to talk to you, because it's already out. If they answer a question for you, they got to answer for everybody, right? So this is why communicating is important. One, for you to understand the customer. One, for you to talk to the right person, to understand what is the right time, understanding the cadence of the timing of the acquisition, and then also the right place. Especially in the VA, sometimes the person that is executing the contract is separated from the decision maker or the contracting officer. So, understanding, am I talking to the right person? And when somebody doesn't answer your question, they're not trying to give you the Heisman, they're not trying to keep it a secret. They may not know. So, the next thing should be is, who could help me answer or understand this, question or this aspect? And then, so it's right person, right place. That means the right place in the organization, and right time. Includes the cadence of the, when is it the right time to talk to them about it, and also understanding the market, understanding them and who they are. We are at 8:23. Do we have any questions? Can I get some love in the chat for these amazing human beings who come here every week? Every week, as they say in some parts, every week, just sharing their knowledge, I challenge anybody who is giving the kind of valuable insight, context. Remember, I talked about context of the information. There's a sea ocean of information, but what we do in demystifying government contracting every week is bringing context to the information. Because if you don't understand the context, you're conned out of the true meaning of the text. And in the case of government contracting, that means what do I need to know right now for me, for my type of business, for my type of business strategy, for my to serve my customer in the best way that I can. And I believe that we do it like nobody else does it, and I'm so honored by these individuals who come here on their own. Sometime at the last minute, if I'm having technical issues like I've been having with this LinkedIn audio, and I just want to say thank you. Please follow them. Please connect with them. If one or two of them resonate with you and you want to do more, or somebody want to recommend them to somebody, please do that. I call them experts. I do want to say that we probably have over 100 years of experience on the stage, and then there's others who are in the background. But please seek out tax, accountant, lawyers, all the professionals that you need to. As Lori always says, trust but verify. Uh, you know, um, the information that we're giving you. But I can tell you, you're not. Most people aren't giving it to you like this, and so the way you can thank us is with your social capital, right? And when I say social capital, I mean you can repost and say, hey, repost this session and say, here's what I learned. Here's what it meant to me. Uh, you can just comment here, however you want to do it, but share social capital. And that's what I think that people don't realize, the power of um, social capital. So real quick, I'm leaving tomorrow, going to speak at the Women of Color Conference. And it's all about influence. And I think that many of us underestimate the influence that we have. I'll tell a quick story and then I'm going to close out. The first time I realized I had influence with people that I did not that did not work for me or work with me was in the summer of 1997. And you might say, why would I remember that? Because 1997 was the year that our son Aaron, was born. And I have a couple of pet peeves. I'm pretty easygoing. But one of the pet peeves I had when I worked in the DC area is, we're in cubicles. I wasn't senior enough to have my own office. And so we worked in cubicles, and I don't like people sitting in my chair. I mean, you can sit on the side chair, but I don't like people sitting behind my desk. And I came back from lunch one day, and there was this young lady sitting in my chair, and there was my boss and a couple other people standing around talking with her. And I said, "Who is this? Who is this? Some, you know, GS 1312 come, is over here probably talking about, whatever." I walked up and they stopped talking, and my boss said to me, "Michelle, I want you to meet Aranita." And I said, "Hi, Aranita, how are you?" And he said, "She's here on the Welfare to Work program, and I want her to work for you in the throughout the summer." Well, wow. Well, I will tell you, I saw who she was before she was. Aranita was my age, had 6 kids, 6 baby fathers, baby daddies, had been disadvantaged, and was a GS2, welfare to work. Well, I will tell you, I was so encouraged. I mean, what I learned about her, how smart she was, although she, hadn't even finished high school, was just amazing. I learned that you can put a bag of ice in a trash can and blow a fan over it, and guess what? It'll make air conditioning. I mean, I learned so many things before. This was before the internet. And she was in a slumlord situation, Whereas if she wanted to document a violation in the building, she would go and buy a newspaper and put the time, write the time on the newspaper, and so that it would be time and dated, and she would put it next to the violation. But to fast forward, at the end, I was so impressed by her positive attitude and how diligent she worked. By the end of the summer, we didn't have any slots, but the intent was for them to place her somewhere with a federal agency. She got a job at DEA. Now, she had made many decisions in her life, but she had never had any criminal activity. She was able to get a secret clearance. And I sent an email. I was so happy for her. I sent an email out to some girlfriends in the Air Force and the Army. And I said, I want to make sure that all of her 6 kids have backpacks, school supplies, coats, for the school year, and we want to buy her a professional um, wardrobe, right? This is the first time I understood my influence, and I, to this day, I'm connected to Aranita, and I'm blown away. Within 2 weeks, every child had a coat, every child had a backpack. Aranita had 7 suits so she could rotate them, and she had a $2,000 gift card, all because I asked. And I was like, wow. Do you want to know that right now Aranita is a GS 14 at the Department of the Drug Enforcement Agency? Is that incredible? I just talked to her, a week ago, because somebody messaged me on LinkedIn, said, I have a cousin who's in a slumlord situation. Do you know anybody who can help her? Well, guess what? Now Aranita is matched up with her and is a mentor to someone in the same situation. She's helping her. Here's how you navigate. Here's how you find free lawyers. Because Aranita, after she got on with DEA, was the recipient of a Habitat for Humanity house. She and her 6 kids got to work on the house, and guess what? She got a house. So, when you think you don't have any influence, you can ask. And what I've always found is when you're asking for influence, using your influence to help other people, it always comes back to you. So, with that, I want to end. I want to say, you all know, I'm going to say my blessing, because I truly believe that there are millionaires in this listening, in listening, to this, that you'll be encouraged. May God bless you. May God bless you indeed. May He enlarge your territory. May He keep you from evil. May He uh, order your steps, right? May He prosper your business. But more than anything else, may He bless you indeed. May He keep you from evil. May He keep evil from you, because it's ugly out there. God bless. We'll see you next week. Tell somebody to come, because this is a special place, and you should be expecting some rich and continued blessings. Thank you. I appreciate you all so much.
Thank you, Michelle. Good night, everyone.
Good
Thank you,
night.
Megan. Good night,
Thank
guys.
you. Good night, all.
All right. Good night. Bye. Thank you.